So let's talk about getting started with Azure Bicep.
Yeah, and I cannot avoid it, but doing some puns, flexing your biceps on this new concept and so on and so forth. And you know what? I think that the best analogy for me is that, I used to do so much heavy lifting with arm templates that I actually developed some bicep.
I think it's an inside joke, Clementino. I'm gonna share my screen here, and
so I mean, I've heard so many nice things about bicep and how it has the potential of changing the whole landscape of doing work for ARM templates. So can you explain to me on simple words, what is bicep?
Well, I don't know if I can explain it in simple words, but we are calling it a domain-specific language, which to simplify that means it only works on Azure and it only is for ARM templates. That's it. That's its sum total focus is on that, and it's with a goal to, make it easy to create templates. We're not taking away JavaScript object notation or JSON. We're just abstracting it beneath Bicep. Almost said Bison there, but
yeah, it's a mixture of Bicep and JSON. Bison. That would be a funny one.
It is Friday afternoon, so
yeah.
So let me just go through the slides a little bit here, and so I'm Ken Lawson. I am an Azure technical trainer. I guess we are Microsoft technical trainers in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I've been doing this job. I guess we've both been doing this job for a couple of years now, over 2 years. There's my contact information if you are interested in it. And as you can see by my certifications, I've dabbled in quite a few things. Do a lot of infrastructure and other things like IoT even. But I started off, before I came to this job, I was a field engineer, and I had to do some heavy lifting with JSON. That was pretty much our whole job. We spent doing ARM templates in JSON, and it was quite a chore to get really familiar with it. And
that's nice. So you felt it under your skin, right? I mean, you really felt the need for something like Bicep. That's great. Before we move on, let me just provide everybody with my name. My name is Clementino de Mendonca, and I'm also a colleague of Ken here in the Microsoft Technical Trainers team. And today I have the pleasure to talk to him about the work he's been doing about Bicep, how about learning it, and how we can, as a matter of fact, start using it as part of our training moving forward as well. So I was just asking.
Yep. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Yep. I was just asking a simple question to Ken about what is Bicep, and talk to me about some special language for doing something. And
okay,
now you'll have to elaborate on that.
I'm going to. So we'll just to go through the agenda here. So I'm going to go through what is Bicep, why is Bicep? I think that's as important as what, and I alluded to that already. And then I'm going to do some demos installing it using VSCode in the CLI, and I'll actually, my goal is to walk through just a really simple demo of I think I'll create a storage account. It's pretty easy to do in Bicep, and go back and forth and show you what that looked like, to compare that between what's in JSON and what's in Bicep. But back to your question, I've been combing our documentation, which is actually really good on it, and this is right out of the documentation that it's declarative, so it's for deploying Azure resources as code. Sometimes we say infrastructure as code, but I don't know if I like that term, because you can easily deploy app services and app service plans with Bicep.
You can. Okay, yeah, I was going to ask exactly that.
It's not just the infrastructure. We're not just building virtual machines. In fact, it's really easy to build app services and app service plans or storage accounts, maybe even easier than it is to build virtual machines. But we call it a domain-specific language, and my best parsing of that term is that it's Azure only, so we can't use it to create anything on AWS. It wouldn't work on AWS. It's not our version of Terraform. Which is, if you're doing cross multi-cloud work, that's probably still what you're going to use. Its goal is to create ARM templates. ARM templates are still underneath JavaScript object notation, but as you and I both know, JSON it's not really what I would call a programming language. It's kind of a descriptor, and correct me if I'm wrong here, because I know you're Mr. DevOps, but it's more like, to me, it's kind of more like YAML. I wouldn't call YAML a programming language. It's describing.
Yeah, you describe, yeah. And at that, I see, ARM templates. Sometimes I've seen so many complicated ones that almost to me looks like the Matrix code. If you remember the movie.
Oh yeah.
There was a point there where a guy could look at the screen. Some people I know can read JSON, those JSON notations of ARM really well, but I get bored after a while, and then I'm really welcoming Bicep there. So what is that transpiles? What is that transpiles thing?
So you notice that term in my slide. It's it's one of those terms that I was first time I saw it. What are they inventing languages here? And yeah, they kind of are. But I contrast that with, so Bicep transpiles, using their term, so I put it in quotes on the slide there, into JSON. It creates JSON. And you could, and I'll show you this, you could run a Bicep build command and create a JavaScript object notation file. You don't have to, though. You can just use Azure PowerShell to deploy, do a resource group deployment just using a .bicep file. But you can also, what they say, decompile JSON. So it goes back and forth. It's kind of neat. You can decompile a JavaScript object notation file into Bicep. So you can create Bicep files, .bicep files, out of JSON files.
Well, I'm going to love that. That seems to be a very nice feature. The fact that you can use your existing ARM templates and then experiment with them within Bicep.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And so why? And this is kind of what I find interesting. That we found that a lot, like I was mentioning before, we found a lot of people would get put off by trying to do JSON. So if you're a Azure administrator, an IT administrator, you might know PowerShell already. And if you're Linux, you probably know Bash, and you're familiar with that, and you know how to do Bash or PowerShell scripts. But you look at JSON, and I know, like you, the first time I looked at it, it was like, I think my eyes crossed. It was like, oh my goodness, I have to learn how to do this. After a while, there was a point where I was pretty good at it, and I am no longer good at it anymore. But it's really a way to get to use templates, to use ARM templates, because we think that's the best way to deploy resources in Azure, is to use templates. They're reusable, modular, and Bicep is even maybe more modular than just using or it's easier to do to add modularity with Bicep.
Nice.
I'm not going to go into that today. That's in the advanced video that our colleague Peter is going to be doing.
Look forward to it.
Yes.
Peter has been looking at this for quite a long time as well, working directly with the Azure team. Yep.
So what he's going to cover things like using parameters and variables, functions or expressions, and also cover modules. I'm just going to do the real quick and dirty stuff to get it started. But its goal is let's make it easier for people to use templates. So that's
excellent. That's what I need today.
So right now we are focusing on Visual Studio Code. I wanted to, especially because I knew I was going to be talking to you, I wanted to check this out today. Is there any kind of extension for just Visual Studio yet? There is not, that I have found. Now, DevOps has a Bicep extension for tasks, though. So Azure DevOps or ADO can use Bicep for tasks, which I thought was kind of interesting. But right now, it's mostly Visual Studio Code. You're going to want to be using, and here you can see I have the CLI 2.2 or later, and Azure PowerShell module, the Azure PowerShell commandlets 5.60 or later. And if you want to use Bicep with PowerShell, you have to also install the Bicep CLI. And that's kind of what I want to show right now. I've got some resources here. We'll come back to those. But if I can just switch over here. There we go. So I'm actually using an Azure virtual machine here, Clementino. I wanted to use it because it was more pristine. All it had was Visual Studio Code on it. Let me just make sure I'm still connected to Azure here. It looks like I am. That's a good thing. And the first thing you want for Bicep, and you can see I've got a Bicep file I created there. I'll create another one here. But the first thing you need for Bicep in Visual Studio Code is, in fact, the extension. I'm just going to install the Bicep extension really quick.
So what is this extension for?
The extension gives you all the capabilities to create Bicep files in Visual Studio Code. It has IntelliSense capabilities, as I will show you here. Yeah, and so it's totally full-featured language. I
see their validation IntelliSense.
Yeah, if you go through here, it's kind of fun actually to walk through the. But it knows everything about the language. It's frequently updated. So you can see here. So I've got the extension. It looks like it's installed. So that was really quick. I'm going to go back to my files. Now you can see I created a file already here. But one of the things is and I can also, I thought I had WSL in here. Well, I can just go to WSL. And I'm in my Bicep. I have a folder, a Bicep folder. I'm just using the WSL capability in here because I can do some more Linux-like things in here. And I've got Bicep installed in here. I think it's just AZ version. Yep. And you can see I've got a, to meet the specifications, it had to be the CLI 2.2.0. I've got 2.25. And the CLI, what's really cool about it is that it has Bison, I said it the second time, Bison.
You have to trademark it.
I do. And one of the things I'm going to do right now in the background here is I'm going to run the PowerShell setup because I think I'm going to need that. While we're getting some stuff started here. And that looked like it was easy. But I'm just going to create another Bicep file here. I'm just going to say, because it's Linux, I'm just going to say touch. And there I've got another one. What's really cool is if you use the little icon kit that they have for Visual Studio Code, you actually get the little icon for bicep with it. That was so. Notice it's launching the bicep language service down here.
Got it. Yes. So what does that do? It I'm guessing it takes ARM and immediately translates it to whatever needs to be done, or what is its purpose?
I think it just enables a few things. So it looks like I got everything going that I need here. So let's create a real quick file, or let's create a bicep file here to deploy, and I'm just going to type in it. Maybe.
Before we move on, so let's just do a quick recap. So we're about to create a bicep file or declaration or descriptive language describing some resource right now. So you had them installed PowerShell, the latest version, Bicep, the latest version, and CLI version 2.25 or 2.20 or above.
Yep, and just to recall, and I can switch back over to PowerShell here right now. You go back to my file here. So the first thing we're going to do is create a resource, and I'm just going to, and you give it a name, just like some kind of it's really only an internal name within the file. It's not anything. And like I says, I can just walk along the line here, and visual and the IntelliSense. I want to create a storage account.
Awesome.
And then it says, oh, well, let's put an API version on that. Now, this is where I found out earlier today that it was a little bit ahead of where ARM is. So I'm just going to use the latest version.
So you always have to set an API version?
Yeah, you will have to set some version. Yes, absolutely. Good question.
So could I just say something like a latest, and well, probably won't make sense because of the differences in yeah, I understand why.
And I'm just walking along, and I know for a fact that I'm gonna add a few things in here, so it helps me do that. So I'm gonna have to give it a name. And even if you don't spell it right, the IntelliSense is gonna help you out with that. And we'll just call it, we have to give it some unique storage account name here. So I'm just gonna say June 25. That should be good. And give it a name, and notice that it's missing something here. It's telling me I need something here. What I need? Oh, look at this. I need these things. I need a kind, a location, and a SKU. We're going to give it that coming up here. In fact, I'm going to give it a location next. And I'm really going to live on the edge here, and because I know there's a new Azure region. I'm going to say West US 3.
Wow. So does it have to be in the same order as it was presented, always named and location, then kind, or can it be in different order?
Good question. It could probably be in a different order, but I don't actually know the answer to that one yet, Clementino. That's
cool. Yes. Well, we can try it out.
I know it needs to have that SKU. It says, oh, there we go. It knows that, and we're gonna give it a little bit different here because this SKU wants some more. It wants a SKU name too, so you have to spell it a little bit better than that. There we go. And look at this. It gives me my SKUs here. And just give it one of those. That'll work. So that's all we have to do for this one. And there was one other thing it wanted. Oh, it wanted a kind. So is it a We'll give it a storage v2. So it helps you out with all these kind of things.
This is so great. This is also learning too about Azure, right?
Oh yeah. If you didn't already know this, and if you've done PowerShell scripts, and now we're going to add a property to this because we have to tell it what tier it is, right? So, and it pops right up. And so, and notice the little squiggly that was under the demo store name
It's gone. Yep.
It's gone now, right? And there we go. We're going to say it's going to be a hot access tier. I think we've pretty much gotten everything.
Yeah. Can we do the test now? Can you change location to the very bottom and see if it still works?
Yeah, we could do that. Looks like it does.
It does. Yep. It's good.
And really, if you think about it, it doesn't. Well, so let's just try a few things here.
Yeah, it's declarative, right? You're declaring, so the location shouldn't make a difference if it's up or down in that description, as long as you have all the proper fields.
And I need to
That's what I expected.
Save it. There we go. And I'm not so I should be able to do a couple things. I'm going to switch back over to WSL.
So I see you just added the AZ in front of it, so it's not part of this.
Okay, excellent. Here we go. So
excellence, yeah. AZ Bicep.
Oh, it didn't like something. Oh, I didn't have a -- file on there. Okay.
Yep.
I may have to switch over to my local environment here now that I've done the installs. All right. So now notice what we have here. We have a .json file.
Awesome. Excellent.
So this is what it looks like in JSON, and this. So here's our demo. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
My other environment here. I just happen to have the same file here, Clementino.
Aha. I know it's not the same because you changed the location, the order of the location of the other. I noticed, by the way, that the generated template put the location at the bottom as well. So, and that's what I was, wanting to validate, whether when you do the decompile, whether it kept that order as well. Just, I've worked with the JSON XML and JSON compilers and decompilers in the past, and they usually tend to ignore those orders when you go back and forth. Well, I've seen it happen that it didn't ignore. Drive me crazy, especially working with process templates in Azure DevOps and so on and so forth.
Azure now. There we go. Get a resource group.
So are you trying to generate a template?
Yes, I am going to grab. All right, let's try this. Need a resource group here. Just get the template file.
I'm trying to guess what you're trying to do, but I think you're trying to get that resource group and make it into a template, or?
I am. I'm gonna bring Azure down in here so we can check. Okay. So I'm logged into Azure, connected to Azure, and I want to make sure this is in this. Yep, it's in the right. Dash name.
says it's done.
I'm just going to
Let's look.
use this this name right here. I can do that. Probably a little bit over here. This is my name. I think I know what it is.
Got a lot of stuff in this resource group. But I think that is a brand new storage account that we just built.
The only thing I had
Access tier is
was, in
hot.
fact, some resources here for people.
Read access, globally redundant storage.
And having said
Perfect.
that,
Yeah, I see you have an MS Learn Bicep course. That's cool.
yep.
What is that Bicep Playground?
What is the Bicep Playground here? When this comes up, you'll get a split screen that shows you, say, JSON on one side and Bicep. There we go.
Okay,
That's
yeah.
exactly what it's showing here. Quite a much more complex Bicep file over here, where we've got several parameters. We've got a bunch of variables, some of the stuff Peter's going to be showing. Because hard coding it, as you know, Clementino, like I was hard coding things. You don't really want to ever do that. In fact, if you're creating a storage account, you want to create it. You want to programmatically create a unique name for it instead of just throwing things to chance like I did.
Exactly, yeah.
And you can see this is very building a virtual network, all kinds of things in here. But over here is the JSON version of this. So basically, you could bring your own code up in here and decompile right in the playground. So this is
Yeah, just be careful not to add any personal subscription or any other personal data, right?
True. And you can also abstract things like subscriptions or setting the contract. You can abstract all of that in this. So sorry about the I may have to do some editing for my demos there, but other than that,
it's good. Excellent. Thank you. It's really enlightening, and I didn't know about those new features. I've used Bicep 4 months ago. Pretty sure that it's evolved way beyond my understanding after that has happened there after the release in more recent releases. It looks like it's looking great, and just this that you just showed, which is that you can reuse it with the templates directly as opposed to having to refer to an ARM template or intermediate ARM template, is already awesome. That is already, that makes me want to go ahead and play with it myself.
good. That was the point of this, Clementino.
Excellent.
I've succeeded. Well, thank you, sir.